Welcome to another episode of Digging Deeper. My name's Bobby. I'm here with Pete Goodman, the one and the only. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing well. We established on a previous podcast, though, that I'm not the only. There's quite a few Pete Goodmans.
Yes, I know, but it feels good to say the one and the only. The one and the only Dr. Peter Goodman.
There's a dentist. He's a doctor. Dang it.
The one and only Dr. Husband of Julie Goodman, Pete Goodman.
Yeah.
How's
Hey,
it going?
everybody. Good.
Yeah.
This is my last one with you guys. So, weird, but it's exciting and bittersweet for sure.
Yeah. I remember the
this.
feeling of bittersweet, leaving one place to go to a new place, God finishing up a calling in one location to launch a calling in a new location. And so just excited for you guys. So you head out this week, yeah?
Personally, I do.
Yeah.
My kids have a few weeks of school left. So kind of the plan was I'm going out to get started, do some work on the house, and then I'm flying back here in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be here for like 4 or 5 days, pack up the house, and officially we'll all leave on June 12th.
Nice.
So.
And then I think it's June 6th, if I'm not mistaken, that we're having a little going away here at the church for you guys. And so that'll be a fun time to celebrate, reflect on all the awesome. Quick question. Like 12 years of being here, what's one of like the fun stories from the 12 years of church planning from day one to now that as you think on this whole season of transition that you look back on and just brings you joy?
Brings me joy.
Yeah, don't tell one of the sad ones. We don't want to cry on the podcast. We want to tell one of the beautiful stories.
Oh, man. I suppose like related to the church, I think it's weird how quickly time goes. Some things feel like they weren't that long ago. I would say I so vividly remember our first service, launching the church. We did a few like preview services, and I remember thinking like, oh, this is not going well. And then we had that first one ready to go in early October of 2013. And I remember just the excitement of it, waking up early and getting there, and you're setting everything up. The first time you set everything up, it feels like an event where you're like, this is like the special event I got to set everything up right for. You don't quite realize that you're about to do this every day for the next 3-4 years, every week. But just seeing people come in, because when we had first gotten here, it was Brandon, Jamie, his 2 kids, me and my wife and 2 kids, and a couple of college students, and that was it. Brandon had come a bit earlier. He came like in August. I got here in January, but we weren't going to launch all the way until later October. So for the first 6 months, it was just like, what are we doing? Are there any people? And I remember the church that we worked with, that we planted with, their pastor, Chris Hornbrook. He came up here to Santee, and we were looking at places. We hadn't picked a location yet. And I remember we were just going to different like schools, and there's this, if you don't live in Santee, you wouldn't know it, but there's this building near my house that has it's like a play, like a theater almost for like, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's like they do like dinner theaters and stuff. And we looked at it, and I remember walking in and thinking, this could be really good. Like it had a stage, it had like a, kind of a dinner theater vibe to it, like pub tables and stuff. And I'm like, this would be awesome. Like we should look into this. And I remember Chris walks around, looks at it. He's like, no, you can't do this. And, like, what do you mean? This is good. He's like, no, you won't fit in here. And the thought in my head was, there's 6 of us. What do you mean we won't fit in here? You can fit at least 50 or 60 people in here. He's like, no, you're going to outgrow this. You can't do this. And I was like, well, it seems pretty optimistic there, Chris, And this was probably June or July. And then we started these meetings. We were meeting in Chick-fil-A on the afternoon on Sundays because we had known the owner. And then a couple people showed up, and a few of them we had, 10, 12 people. I'm like, we had 14 people come today. This is amazing. But before we launched anything, we had this like last meeting at Brandon's house with everyone that was involved. And I remember sitting there, and we're all sitting in a circle, and there was probably about 15 people. And I think 5 of them were over the age of 22. And I was like, oh no, what are we doing? Like, this is not. And then we launched, and it was suddenly there's 100 people here, and a year later we're hitting like 300. And it's like, what is going on? And I just remember there's so much like almost I don't know what the word was. It was just like, is this what is happening? Just seeing God do something that he just started moving. People started showing up, and church started growing, and that was exciting. And then when all these people start coming, which is amazing, but then we don't actually fit in the place we picked, the school we're in, and we're just tight. There's no kid space, and same thing happened. We start looking for a location. We're driving around, and we found this place over in Magnolia by Estrada's. Sorry for those who don't live here. And I'm like, if we took this wall out, we could easily fit, like 200 people in here, no problem. Like, we should do this. And the same thing is like, God, you're gonna outgrow this. Don't do that. I'm like, what? We'll fit in here. And yeah, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Mike and Colleen come and talk to us about merging and this facility. I'm like, that's huge. Within 2 years, the place is packed. It's just seeing the way that God just keeps doing more than I expected. And that's not saying this really a lot, because I'm a pessimist, but it's easy to get more than I expect. But those have been some of the coolest things. And I just seeing, all the growth and the change and the stories and the baptisms, and I don't know, it's just been a wild ride.
Yeah, that makes the text you preached from yesterday even feel more like real to this moment. For those of you who didn't listen to it yet, was it Luke 5? Luke 5, yeah. 1 through probably 11 or something like that. But it's the idea of those, the empty nets, throw it out one more time, and boom, the boats are so full they're about to sink.
Yeah.
And, even in that church growth in those early days, it's like, just faithfully kept fishing where God told Rise City to fish, and here we are 12 years later, healthy, growing, life-giving church.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had, grew the family to 4 kids, and, ended up getting a house, and just, I don't know. Yeah, the whole journey. And I didn't, most of you people that maybe know me, know my story. A lot of people don't. I didn't come on staff here until 2019. So I actually worked at a college for the first 5 years. And, just had great memories there too. It was a great experience. Got to really teach the Bible and finish my degree. And, but I remember when I actually made the move and came on staff here, that was wild, because we just, we're growing. The churches just don't even know where to put people. We're trying to think of things, and it's like, hey, let's come on board. And they brought me on, and it's like, all right, what are we gonna do? And then just COVID just blows it all up, and you're like, what in the world? But on the other side of COVID, it's like, here's God just, I don't know, bringing us back to even higher places than we were before in some ways. So
yeah.
It's cool to see him work.
Wow. Sure. Wow. So let's talk a little bit about your message yesterday. Again, we already re-talked about the story, and in that, that idea of the Jesus standing there, and I think you air quoted it for those watching, the air quotes for listening. Imagine they're there, but you air quoted that Jesus just stumbled upon that place randomly. That was the word you air quoted. But Peter's sitting there cleaning his nets, and just that idea. But one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned this to you yesterday, but one of the things I kept thinking about when you did when you were going through the story is that you said Peter's cleaning his nets, and then he goes out with Jesus, and Jesus tells him to throw the nets back out. And almost in his reluctancy of what it could have felt like was like, hey, I'm been fishing all night, but if you say so, I will. The only thing I kept thinking of is he'd already cleaned his nets.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, the moment he drops them back in the water,
and dirty again,
he's got to clean them again.
Oh,
and I could imagine like that could have, he could have used that as an excuse to not drop the nets back down. He could have said, I've already done it. My net's already clean. We're done for the day. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
but Jesus asked him to do something. He listened, and he caught more fish than he ever caught. And it was highly inconvenient on multiple levels. He was obviously hadn't slept because he just got off work, and yeah. And so I was thinking about that
Mm.
when it comes to like following Jesus. Times of what could feel like perceived inconvenience.
Yeah.
How do you navigate those seasons?
Oh, man. So, well, I think last night at our team night, for those of you that weren't there, join a team so you can come to team night.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the importance of living with thankfulness and gratitude. And in some ways, I think that's also a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
That's been a big deal for me. I don't know if some people have a spiritual gift of gratitude. I don't have it. I have this. I have a natural bent to grumble and complain, and to think about my inconveniences a lot. Like that's where my brain wants, just sort of, my brain just wants to go there. So making a conscious decision to think about perspective, think about what God is doing outside of my inconvenience. I would say it's a discipline, right? Like
Yeah.
the same way you have to discipline yourself to eat right or whatever, work out, whatever. I think you have to discipline yourself to say, when I'm feeling inconvenienced and it's butting up against what I think God's calling me to do, there's a discipline of training my mind. In Romans, Paul says, be transformed by renewing your mind. And I think I don't think that's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of living, where it says in Corinthians, like, take every thought captive. When I'm, okay, God says this, but it's hard, it's difficult, it's inconvenience. That all comes down to a battle in your mind of like, what do I believe is going to be better for me? What do I believe is ultimately worth it? And I think starting by saying, hey, I remember what God has done in the past. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the life I have. My inconveniences are probably small in light of the rest of things. Even sometimes just, okay, this is a little inconvenience. There's Christians in Burma right now who are running for their lives and living in caves, and I'm like, I have to go somewhere cold,
Yeah.
But even just like reminding myself that God has been good to me and it's always been worth it, is easier at 46 than 21. Because at 21, I didn't necessarily have the experiences to rely on, which I think is the advantage of community, of having other Christians in your life that can give you some of that perspective and say, hey, I'm older, I've been there, I've seen God work, trust me. But yeah, I think just that's part of it. But also, maybe the biggest, most important thing is, in Habakkuk, the prophet is wrestling with God over, why are all these bad things happening? God, where are you? Why don't you do what you said you would do? We're waiting for your promises and the world's still terrible. And God's answer is, those who will be shown to be in the right, those who will shown to be with me, who will see my goodness, are the ones who live by faith. And I think that's where it's so important to have a good, solid understanding of the word faith not being just a belief system, but a commitment, a fidelity, a decision that I made at baptism that Jesus is Lord.
Yeah.
And if Jesus is Lord, then the inconveniences might suck, but they're not an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not an option to not obey if he's Lord. And to live with that mindset that says he's in charge. I don't have a choice here. It's not like, well, I'm going to choose this or this. Like, no, I've already chosen. And what I've chosen is that Jesus is king. And he's telling me to do this.
Yeah.
So if it's hard or it hurts, it's like, oh, that sucks. But he told me to do it. So there's sort of, at the end of the day, there's just a resolve that says, this is the life I've chosen to live, and it's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I resonate with your story. Obviously, I think I told a little bit of my story when I first arrived here, and it's that moment, that altar, and I was like, God, all right, my life is yours. You can do whatever you want with it. It's complete submission to His will, His way. But there's a phrase that you're speaking of, that I'm speaking of, and I've heard other people speak of it. And there's times I've heard people misuse the phrase, and it's this is where God is leading me. This is where God is sending me. God is telling me how to live my life. Where God's telling you to move to Battle Creek, Michigan. God told me that this is where we are to go. Like that. That language is very specific, but it also can be easily manipulated. Is that a fair word to say about it? Easily
Sure.
used. And so, like, I know people who said, well, God told me to break up with my girlfriend. And the why was because there was a prettier girl that I wanted to go on a date with. Or God told me to, I've heard people specifically say that God told them to do something that was sinful.
Mm,
And it's like, that's not the voice of God.
yeah.
How do you differentiate? This is a weighty question between the voice of your own instinct and desire and the voice of God. Um, has there been times when your own instinct and desire actually felt opposite of what you knew what God was telling you to do? Or how do you know when it's God's voice and not just your own distinctive voice? It's a question that's been asked for millennia.
Yeah.
Um, but for you personally, what does that look like?
That's a big question. Um, and I don't know what you think about this. There's a lot of practical answers I can give to that. I genuinely don't, and I'm saying this. When I mean this, I don't fully know what I think about this. I'm wrestling through with it. My experience in life, and that's an important thing to say. My experience, not my theology, not what I read in the Bible. My experience in life has been different than a lot of people I'm close to and trust, including my own wife, in the sense that you only know your own experience, so you can draw assumptions about, well, I experienced this, so this is the way things are. And then you meet other people who are like, well, that's not how it was for me. And you're like, oh, there's other ways of doing this. Are you wrong? Am I wrong? Are we just different, kind of thing? And I think early on, I probably would have been more, no, this is how it's supposed to be. You need to do it this way. This is how you hear from God or whatever. If you don't do it this way, there's something wrong with you. And I think over time, I've come to, I guess, my own personal conclusion, best I can say it, is some mixture of my upbringing and my wiring, God's gifting. I hopefully I don't sound obnoxious saying this. It appears in my experience that I seem to have one of the gifts maybe that I have is I hear God's voice maybe more than other people seem to.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's a fair thing to say. It might be unfair. And again, it might be just my experience having grown up a certain way and been more opened up to it as a child, I guess. I don't know. But I know a lot of Christians who, when I say like, talk about God speaking, it's almost like, well, he speaks more like this through circumstances or the word or things like that. And so I've really tried to take that and be cautious in how I communicate to other people when it comes to hearing God. Like, because I wanted to be like, oh, I don't know. I was just pacing in the auditorium on Saturday night and he told me to do this. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Like, wait, he told you? What do you mean he told you this? And like, he speaks to me pretty regularly. Now, knowing it's him versus knowing maybe it's my own inner dialogue, my own voice, is a matter of time and patience. And I think also just experience.
Yeah.
When it's big, I'm very slow to act. And I don't mean slow as like being like, oh, I don't want to do that. I mean, like, I'm going to keep praying about this and keep thinking on this and talk to some people about it. When it's smaller, I don't know. I usually just, I don't know, if I'm at men's retreat and I feel like the Holy Spirit's saying, go talk to that person about this. I'm not like, I'm going to hold off and I'm going to do it. But yeah, I've missed before. I've been wrong before. Sure. I would say if I feel like it's a really consequential major decision or choice, I'm going to bring some other people in that I trust. I'm going to talk about it with people, and it's like I hear God say something, and I take it and I say, okay, I have this thing. I think you spoke to me. Now I'm going to sort of develop this process of holding on to it, continuing to talk to you about it, continuing to talk to other people about it, and then really come to this place of, am I sure that this is you speaking? Rather than like, praying for 5 minutes, like, all right, God told me to move to Canada. Like, no. So even like this situation was probably an 8 to 10 month process of really diving deeper to that. But there was a moment that he just literally spoke. I was sitting on a trail in Simi Valley, and he just said, "This is what I want you to do," and I just knew it. I knew it. I just
Yeah.
knew it. That's God speaking right now.
Yeah.
If if I feel like God is speaking to me, and it's something I really, really want, I have yellow flags flying up everywhere. Slow down, caution, caution, caution. Um, if it's God speaking to me something, it's something I absolutely don't want, I'm usually like, that's probably God. I'm very cautious when I think God is saying something and I already know that it's what I wanted. That's where you get in trouble. Like when
Yeah.
you want something, when you desire something, and and you think the Lord starts saying, "Yeah, that's it." I'm always like, it could be, but slow down. Like hit the brake pedal when we're talking about something that you want.
Yeah.
So when you're like dating relationships, like, whoa, she's so beautiful. I'm like, the Lord's speaking to me. Calm down, calm down. You know what I mean? It's like your wants and desires will always confuse the voice of God,
Yeah.
especially when they're too closely aligned, because the heart is deceitful above all things. I am inherently broken. Paul says my mind has been corrupted by sin. So I should question and be critical of all my thoughts and desires. So when God's voice aligns with my natural human thoughts and desires, you might have a problem there, because my natural thoughts and desires are usually wicked. So that's a start. That's a big part for me of like asking and really assessing and being honest with myself and other people. Is this actually something that I wanted? And now I'm feeling God is just condoning it.
Mm.
Um, or did this come out of nowhere? Or is it something I don't want? Is it actually uncomfortable and hard for me? That's usually where the first step in discerning God's voice for me starts. And it usually is like 95% of it.
Yeah.
Um, when it's something I don't want, it's almost always God speaking to me.
Man. Yeah, no, that's good. The voice of God. I remember when I first got saved. My first youth pastor, Robert Hamilton. Uh, like I think the book was called "Discerning God's Voice" or "Hearing God's Voice" or "Hearing the Voice of God," something like that. It was a maroon book with oatmeal color letters. I remember it was one of the earliest things he handed to me, and as a new Christian, it was very hard for me to figure out like what exactly. Like I didn't know anything. I was a teenager, didn't know anything, had a lot of opinions probably, but it's a constant pursuit. I think I think it helps for people when they have an understanding of God's word.
Sure.
And
Keep grounded.
yeah, it keeps you, solid. But God speaks to me similarly, like on big things.
So here's what I wonder. Okay, sorry to interrupt. I wonder about this. If you and I, literally Bobby and Pete, lived in, you know, Corinth in 50 AD, would people say that you and I have the gift of prophecy? I think they would. Um,
Huh.
I've recognized it in you. I recognize something in you that I see or feel or resonate with. Standing next to a stranger in a baptism tub, and hey, God wants you to know this. Um, I don't. I don't know if every Christian is given that gift. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know, but I see it in you. It can come out as wisdom. It can come out as sometimes being strategic, but a lot of times it comes out as, no, this is just what God is saying. We're going to do it. And it doesn't mean that Christians that don't operate that way don't have the Holy Spirit or aren't spiritual or whatever. It's just, I think when I'm around other people who seem to work the way I work, I don't know. I question it, but I don't. The gift of prophecy is such a. I don't. You throw that thing around, it's like I've had moments where I don't even know how to explain it. Where God just starts telling me, and just read everybody's mail, and like I sit in a room and God's telling you this, and it's all accurate. Um, and that happens a lot. God speaks to me about the future a lot, and it happens. Like He has my whole life. Like I'll see things happen in my mind, and then they happen.
yeah,
Um, and so what I've tried to do is like, well, this is my experience. This is what I feel. This is how I relate with God. But then be like, well, hold on. That doesn't mean everyone does. So don't tell everyone they have to have a vision of something that's going to happen and it happens, because maybe God, they have a different gift. I literally don't know. I'm
No,
out of my
that's
depth in that
good.
question.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
it's definitely. I don't think it works the same for everybody,
Yeah.
and that's because I know other great Christian leaders, and it doesn't work the same for them. That like I don't know that God's ever spoke to me through a dream.
Hmm.
And I know many people who's like, oh, God speaks to me in dreams. Like I'll have a dream and I'll dream it 5 times, and it's like God's telling me something, and I'm like,
I haven't either.
I don't have that. What's interesting though is there's times I'm like, that would be really cool, God. Will you do that? But like they're on the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm like, well, this is the way God speaks to me. They're like, oh, God's never God's never done that to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably times when they're like, well, that would be really cool if God would speak to me that way. And really the reality is there are ways God communicates to us. And I think early on I would say it's like God speaks to me in my gut. Like there's just it feels like it's a deep knowing within. And then it's that pursuit of like, is this God? Reading his word, talk to trusted is the most important word, friends who also understand God and his word and the way he speaks. And then running with it, but not feeling the need necessarily to compare the way God communicates. I mean, if everyone was
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to be like Paul, but God never shined a bright light in my eyes and blinded me and then brought back my sight 3 days later, like, so I guess God's not speaking to me. No, we still encounter God. It's going to look different sometimes for people. And
it might have, this is where it gets fun for me. It might have, like, so this, people are watching this podcast, why are you even talking about this? Whatever. Like, it might have more connection to personality than we want to admit. But that doesn't mean it's less, and this is, I actually am kind of passionate about this. We're often uncomfortable saying things like that because we want to always separate the physical from the spiritual. But the Bible doesn't do that. Like, the way that I'm wired as a person is who I am as a person. And so my personality is just as spiritual as anything else. I'm just me. It's Pete Goodman. And so I often find that it almost feels like you can connect personalities sometimes to spiritual gifts. You know what I mean? Like, the way God wires a person is also connected often to the way that they're gifted. And I don't know. I just like, we want to sort of separate, oh, you got psychology over here and you got Christianity over here. And it's like, well, all of it is God's truth, you know?
yeah.
And so, yeah. When we talk about giftings and wirings and how we hear God, I often find that certain personality types, I can almost kind of group them a little bit in some ways. Like, that kind of personality type tends to do it this way. And I don't know, maybe it's just because we draw those distinctions ourselves. Like, this is, psychology, personality types, this is spiritual gifts over here. And it's like, somehow we're all just connected as people. But my wife, I've said this on the podcast before, my wife hears God in the Bible. And it's sort of like, what does that mean? It's not that I don't, it's that like, the Bible doesn't speak to me. I like, it speaks to her. Like, she'll read a verse and be like, God just said this to me. And when she says it, I'm like, I don't resonate with that at all. I'll read a verse and then I'll be like, God, what might you want to say to me through that? And then we'll like talk. It's not like the verse is like coming off the page at me.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
It's like I'm studying it with God. Like, I'm reading it with him.
Like, she read, for God so loved the world. God just said, God so loved me.
Yeah. Or like she'll be like in Joshua, and Joshua took this city. She's like, God just told me I'm taking the, or like, it never happens to me. It's never been my relationship with the Bible. My relationship with the Bible has always been this like doorway for me to talk with God. Like, it's like I read it, and then oftentimes, so what I do is I have a journal, and I'll write like, May 19th, and then I'll be like Joshua 21 and colon, and then I'll read Joshua 21, and then I'll grab my journal and my pen, and I'll just sort of like, anything that you want to say to me, God. I might write a sentence summarizing the passage, and then if something starts to come out of it, otherwise I'll just jump in. Up ahead to Acts 4 today, whatever. Whereas Julie is much more like, I was just in Joshua 21 and the Lord just spoke to me. And I don't know. It's like, it's just at first and we've talked about this too. Like when we first started dating and then got married, it was a weird impasse because I remember the first time she was thinking about her first job when we got married. She didn't really like it. She was thinking about quitting to something else. She's like, I don't know what to do. And I literally said, well, what's God saying? And she's like, well, I read in Isaiah 7 this morning. And I looked at her, I'm like, what? I don't know. What is God saying? She's like, well, I was also, in Revelation 6. I don't know. And she's like, and I'm like, I'm confused. What is God's? I didn't ask you what you read in the Bible. I asked you what God is saying. And for her, it was like, no, that is what God is saying.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I just meant like, did you like go for a walk? And the Lord said, quit your job. That's what I do. And she's like, that's crazy. Don't do that. And I was like, oh, so just realizing we're very different people and we hear and connect differently, was eye-opening for me and helpful.
Yeah.
Because it lets me know that, and then, working with Brandon for a decade and he tended to look more maybe like gut feeling, but also circumstantial. Like I see God moving here and just realizing different people like are hearing and being led by God in different ways. I don't know. So
no.
I don't have a good answer. I really don't. It's mysterious.
It is. I mean, and I think it's okay that it can be a little bit mysterious.
Sure. We want to figure everything out, but if I figured everything out, he wouldn't be God.
Exactly. And they've been trying to solve these problems for a long, long time. Yeah. And
but I could pretend I solved it and write a book and make money. That's what I should do. Oh, he solved it. Let's buy his book. Yeah, let's do that.
7 steps to hearing the voice of God. Boom, done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, well, Pete, this is your last official podcast, and it's your last official week on staff here. I think we got a little staff celebration tomorrow, and then everything. But man, it's been an honor, truly. I know I said it briefly on platform yesterday. We've worked together now. I think it's 9 months. August to whatever today is, 10 months.
Is it 10?
Yeah, 10 months. And so, honestly, it's been an honor. I've always Megan and I talk, or just like people ask me how things are going, from maybe back in North Carolina or friends around the globe, and I'm like, man. I'm like, oh, Pete's, he's taking on a church, and they go, oh man, that's rough. And I'm like, yeah, but like Pete's just like, he's got just great integrity. He loves the Lord, man. He's following the voice of God. He's, like the first thought everybody has is like, oh, it must be bad. And, and I'm like, no, man, honestly, it's been really good. And I sincerely mean that. Like when I think about Pete Goodman, I think of a man with deep conviction and integrity, and a desire to see the church continue to like thrive and do well. And man, it's just, honestly, I can't say it enough. It has been an honor, the 10 months of being able to work alongside. Actually, when I pursued the job here, one of the early questions was, well, can I work with the staff and team? It's a question you have to ask. And, so I watched a couple of your sermons in the early days, and we had a couple of conversations, and I was like, yeah, man, this is a good guy. This is a good guy. Loves the Lord well. And so I think about that as you go into your new season, man. I believe that, I believe God will continue to do things in and through the life of you and Julie and in the church there that, might be still shocking that God does things that you weren't even expecting, but I believe it's going to be a beautiful season for you, and excited to hear the stories. Because though this is the last podcast, it's not like this. We can never talk again. Delete my number from your phone.
It's my last podcast on Digging Deeper.
Oh.
But soon I'll have Digging Deeper at Woodland Church. So
where can they find you out on the interweb?
I do. I actually, when I went back there and our first weekend, it came up, like this podcast came up, and they're like, a few people mentioned it, and I was like, I actually, I was enjoyed that, and when we started it, and we actually might start something like this. So
I think you should. I think you're actually brilliant on podcasts. You have a great mind for it. You think on your feet, and you're open enough to have the rough conversations with we don't have show notes on this podcast. Yeah. We don't have any prep questions ahead of time. No time for study.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I really do. There's also a freedom in a podcast that I don't feel on the stage. Uh, so here's a podcast nugget for you. So when I do a message, I tend to type it out, but that's my way of thinking and writing and processing. And so I will think through what I want to say and how I might want to say it. And then when I'm on the stage, it's kind of already in my head. I'm not sitting there reading my notes, but I'll usually, the nice thing about sort of the way my process is it gives me the ability to ask tough questions. And one of the tough questions was I I got this moment in my story where I'm talking. So if you didn't hear it yesterday, you can like watch it. But I was talking about how different seasons of my life, God called me to different places to go fishing, other places, and how I come back to Illinois and it's not working well. And I'm like, God, there's no fish here. Why'd you bring me here? And sort of the turn was, well, that's when I found Julie. So I was typing, right? And this is what I do. I just type. It's like, you're just thinking, you're typing, then you go back and edit, read whatever. Like, and as I'm typing, I wrote, like in my initial thing, it was like, I'm thinking out loud, and it's like, so I just told God, there's no fish here. Why'd you bring me here? And Jesus looked at me and said, hold my beer. Julie, you think I could say that in church? She goes, no, do not say that in church. And I was like, okay, I'll save it for the podcast.
In church, you have to say, hold my Diet Coke. But here on the podcast, you can say, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. You can also say on your second to last day, because,
Yeah, there it is.
Just knowing it more than watch this, please. No,
man.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. It's, I've definitely had it in the back of my mind of like, the mixture of both loving this place and wanting to see it thrive, but also just even like thinking to myself, man, how would I hope people treat me when I go and do this, has always been a helpful thought for me. But you're a very easy guy to work for. Yeah, it's been a weird 10 months, but it's been a weird 10 months in a cool way, in a growing way. I've always told people, and I think I've told you, the strangest feeling I have not known what to do with is the moment when you change something that I wanted to change. But then I'm like, oh, that's uncomfortable. It's the strangest thing. Like if you came and changed something that I loved, I'd be like, oh, no. But like when it's like, oh, we need to paint this room. This room needs to be updated. And then we update it. And I'm like, oh, where'd my room go? I'm like, wait, no. I wanted it. What's happening? It's so weird the way that feelings and emotions can like just get in your, like, it's like I'm a logical thinker. I like to like think clearly and objectively. And when you're saying goodbye to something you've been a part of for so long, it's almost like my brain is sort of gets into haywire moment and it's like, wait, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? But when I step back and if I'm like, oh, that's hard to say goodbye to this or whatever. Yesterday, standing on the stage and even just the time leading up to it, I just felt such a freedom and a peace. I don't know how to say it. Like there's no anxiety. There was no fear. There was no like Rise is in great hands.
Thank you.
Like it's not mine anymore, but it's okay. Cause it's like, it was never mine, but like
Sure.
it's okay. Cause it's like, it's in good hands and it's yeah. And it was a blessing. I don't use that word a lot cause it sounds religious and cheesy, but it's like, there is a blessing to be able to leave something and be like, this is okay. You know what I mean? Like, this is okay. I'm not like to be able to walk away and be like, yeah, it's great. Everything's fine. It's going to be good. It's going to be better. And then to just keep walking and not have this sense of like, oh no, is it going to collapse after I'm gone? Like, no. God brought you guys here. You're doing good work. And man, I empathize a little bit with how hard it is, but not completely because I don't know yet. 6 months from now, I'll completely empathize and be like, Bobby, I just talked to you. They hate me. That's but no, just thank you for being willing to do this. Thank you for being willing to do hard things, because I know that this has been hard, and it's been easy for me to sit in my office and just watch. That's easy, but I know it's been hard, and Julie knows it's been hard, and man, I don't want to be cheesy, man, but I really am proud of you, and think you're doing great work, and I'm grateful for you being here.
I appreciate it.
I feel like we need to make a joke now. Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well,
I can land the plane if you want.
Yeah.
Well, guys, how about this? For those of you that are watching, like, I genuinely mean it. Thank you. Thanks for letting me do this. It's sometimes strange to feel like I get paid for this. And then other days I'm like, I want more money.
That was the joke we needed.
That's
right
what we needed.
there.
Oh no, but it's been a blast. Thank you, and yeah, whole team, everybody. Dawson, thank you. Appreciate you, man. I forgot Dawson in first service when I was saying I did. I didn't forget him on my notes, but I walked away from my notes, and that was a mistake. But I do appreciate you, man. I got you second service, but he wasn't listening. He doesn't know. But yeah, appreciate everybody, and man, just grateful, and looking forward to hearing all the great stories that happen here at Rise State in the future. So, man,
Love you, Pete.
Signing off. Last time. See you guys.